Good evening, Facebook land. So I figured I'd just come through, say hello, and see how you're all doing. Thank you for checking into the net tonight. So as it is, it's hit 8 o'clock. Uh, let's kick it off then. Good evening, everybody. This is Brad, VK2 and MZ for the Central Coast Amateur Radio Club weekly 2-meter net. Now, this net is held every Thursday evening on the VK2 RAG 2-meter repeater and also via the CCARC NSW Echo Link connection. So we're going through and starting something a little bit different tonight. So what I will do is I'm just going to go through, connect up the Echo Link node, and then from here we'll go off and we'll take some local check-ins. So you're going to hear a couple of beeps come through, and after that, check in. This is we're looking for local repeater traffic. Okay, it looks like it doesn't want to go through and connect up to the node. That's definitely a bit odd. I think I'm going to need to go through and have a look at that and see what's going on. Okay, so whilst I'm going through and working on that, let's go off and look for local repeater traffic. Local repeater traffic, if you did wish to go through and check into this tonight's net, please go ahead. Okay, acknowledging VK2XOR Max and VK2HJW Ray. Good evening there, boys. Give me 1 second. I'm just going to have another attempt at this Echo Link. I'm not too sure what's going on with this one, so let's disconnect the node. There we go. And we'll reload it and connect back up again. Now it's thinking, but okay, so we do have Echo Link now connected, but it looks like it's locked out and it's frozen up and it doesn't quite know what it's doing. Okay, so I've just gone through to try and connect the Echo Link node. It did link up for a moment, but then it disconnected. I'm just going to have one more shot. Now this is definitely a very different one. I'm not too sure what's going on here, so let's disable the node, which we can hear there. Okay, disabling node, and let's enable the node again. So node offline, node idle. Let's go through and try this. Hey, there we go. Alright, so that's a little bit better. Welcome to all the Echo Link users out there. I can see that we are now connected. So that's quite happy. I can see the VK2RAG-R repeater is connected to the conference server. I just hope that all of the audio is actually coming through. So we'll come back to Echo Link in a moment. if we can just go back to local repeater traffic. So local repeater traffic, if we want to go through, and if there are any other check-ins. So far I had Max, which was a hello, goodbye, and I had Ray VK2HJW. Were there any other check-ins? Please go ahead. And Alan VK, acknowledging that, Alan VK2MG. Beautiful. Okay, anyone else? Beautiful. Okay, so Matt there, VK2 FABR. Any other local repeater players before we move it over to Echolink? And VK2 EWI Jim. Good evening there, mate. Any other repeater traffic before we move over to Echolink? Hey. And there's Dave. Acknowledging VK2 VGA. Dave, good evening, mate. Okay, any others at all? No, Karen doesn't count. All right, so we've got quite a bit of a list there for local connections, but just to double check, is audio coming through on Echolink? Because it doesn't look, I'm not seeing the little status bars or anything go through and move. So, for example, Ken, I can see that you're checked into the node. Are you hearing any audio coming through? And while we're doing that, I figured we'll come out and we'll say hello to Al, who's watching the live stream on Facebook. Ken, Adrian, Vince, who's out at Kooragang, VK2 LPC, mate, good evening. And Alan's going off and watching it as well. So I can see it looks like Alan's just jumped into the node and just is going to go through and check to see if there's audio coming through or not. So while that's coming through and being checked, let's go right up to the top of the list. Now Max was a hello goodbye, so let's move it down there to Ray, VK2HJW, VK2NMZ. VK2HJW, VK2NMZ for the Central Coast Net. Now, I did go through and did put a call out and was seeing what topics could go through and be some handy discussions. And now a couple of the ones that did come through. Now this is from Adrian, who still yet to meet, which would be what is the best. So we have a few that we could pick from. The first one would be what is the best band for a high density / metro area for amateur radio. So yeah, that's definitely a, 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 a big deep hole as to what it is. You could say 2 meters, you could say 6 meters, you could jump on 40 meters with a vertical HF antenna. There is so many different options out there. A cheap Baofeng's worth it for 30 bucks, yeah, but you're probably best to save your pennies a little bit. And are those CW / Morse code kits on the online auction site any good? So that one I'm not too sure of, Adrian. I think it may be. I think you may be referring to mini kits. So there's some of the topics that we do go through and did come in. I suppose we could also go through and drop in is did you manage to get any toilet paper this week? I know for myself I didn't hear it, so I didn't get any. So that's basically where we're at the moment. Did you have anything in particular, Ray, that you wanted to go through and chat about? VK2HJW, VK2NMZ. Alrighty, so that's quite a few things. Just give me a moment. I'm just being told that there is no audio passing through to Echolink, so I'm just going to go through and disconnect the node and try again. We seem to be having some big issues with it, so you may hear a couple of beeps come through. Now I'm seeing this on the Echolink portal that it is coming through, and it says that it's connecting. I can see our repeater into it, but it seems to be locking up and not actually coming through. I don't know what on earth is going on with that. We're receiving another error. TBD command, whatever that actually goes through and means. I don't know what that means. So I'm at a loss. So this may mean that Echolink may not actually go through. So if you are sitting there watching the live stream and you are connected via Echolink, definitely go through, and maybe if you can leave a comment there or drop some audio in there to let the people know. Okay, now going through and coming back to the list there is now I have gone through and I have tried to connect Echolink, but it's just not playing well. I don't know what is going on with it. So that's something that we'll need to go off and work out later on after the net. So I really do apologize for some of some of the folks in Facebook land, because we did have quite a number of check-ins there, but it looks like it's well broken. Now, Ray, LiPo batteries, is that something else that I would like to look into, as well as I know my own portable battery is a 75 amp hour that weighs about 20 kilos, and it's not really the most portable of batteries. I know one of our club members, Dave, did go through and set up a little LiPo setup and powered his, I think it was an ICOM or Yaesu radio. It was a big boy radio, and he powered that quite well off a small bank of lithium batteries. So we'll go through, and I suppose David can comment on that later. We'll go off and move down the list here to VK2MG. This is VK2NMZ. and we'll go off and we'll head over back to Matt. And I just realised I had my microphone muted for the live stream. VK2 FABR VK2 NMZ. VK2 FABR VK2 NMZ. So that's all good there, Matt. That's perfectly fine. So I suppose we did go through and get a few good suggestions for topics. So yeah, we'll definitely do a round of batteries, and then I suppose we'll come up and work out what the next topic may be. Oh, good. Okay, Jim, let's move down to you. VK2 Echo Whiskey India VK2 NMZ. How are you this evening, Jim? And what are your thoughts on LiPo batteries? Now, VK2 EWI VK2 NMZ. All good there, Jim. That's fantastic. Hopefully I did go through and read on the news that the US will be close. I think the Europe or part of Europe I think was closing the border. I hadn't been fully watching the broadcast or watching the news information, so that's definitely something to go through and keep a lookout. And going over to the Hamfest in Germany, that's definitely going to be an absolute winner right there. And I would say I'm just a little bit just a little bit jealous. So, mate, that is fantastic, and definitely if as the others would have heard on as your comments on before of those LiPo batteries, if you did were looking for some of the small batteries out of the computers, go through and hit Jim up, and I'm sure he'll be able to help you out. Let's move on. We'll go to David, VK2 VGA, VK2 NMZ. VK2 VGA VK2 NMZ, mate. You're compared to last week, it's chalk and cheese. Your signal is absolutely perfect, full quietening, all sorts of good. Wow, not bad. Not bad at all. Okay, so we're now one of the things that I'm just starting to get a couple of messages saying that there's no audio feed. Ah, Mark. Okay, acknowledging Mark VK2 FMUS. Now, I just had a cut. No, just quickly there. I had a couple of comments saying that there was no audio coming through and being passed through onto the Facebook feed side of things. So, I guess for this is just for the people that are watching via the live Facebook stream. Um, is audio back or is it still gone? All right, we'll go through. We'll continue on with this. Let's go down to so Dave. That some of that stuff there is that you're talking about there is absolutely mind blowing. I'll be honest. I'm still learning about batteries and everything about that. So there's so much stuff going on. Let's go down. Let's head down to Mark and say hello to Mark. VK2 FMUS. This is VK2 NMZ. Mate, go ahead. Good evening.
VK2RAG, Summersby.
Very much for that and dropping it. I'm not too sure what's going on. Like, normally this feed goes through and plays completely nice. Um, I've, I'm at an absolute loss. I did see a comment there saying that only my audio was okay. Um, but yeah, on this side here, it's showing that it was receiving audio from the radio. I did just go off and turn it up a little bit, but I'm not too sure what's what's going on with that. So for the people that are sitting back watching the live Facebook stream, I do apologise for that. Okay, Ken has just left a comment saying, presumably a good QSO on the repeater, but Brad is the only voice I hear on Facebook or Echo Link. Well, that's not good. Okay, well, I guess while we're going through and we're troubleshooting this, let's go off and move back up to the top of the list there to Ray, VK2HJW, VK2NMZ. And acknowledging VK2NRC. Sorry about that, Mark. Ray, did you just want to do that again? I accidentally doubled over you. Yep, not a problem at all there, Ray. So VGA's name is David. And so what I'll do is I'll jump down to Bob VK2 NRC VK2 NMZ. VK2 NRC. Oh, I think I might have just fixed it. It looks like it's coming, the audio is coming through on the live Facebook feed. I think I may have gone through and fixed it if let's see what's happening there. Okay, so let's try that again. VK2 NRC. Bob, thank you very much for coming through and dropping in and taking the time. You're all good. We just had a mass amount of troubleshooting that we were going through, and I'm not too sure what's going on, but I think I may have gone off and fixed it. Maybe. So we'll just go basically give that a go. All right, let's move up to, we'll go off and move back up there to Ray, VK2HJW, VK2NMZ.
VK2MNZ and the group VK2HJW. Okay, well look, good. Actually, it was quite quick. I got back onto the list quite quick. David had some really good information there. He's 100% spot on in the voltage differences between the LiPo, the 3-cell and the 4-cell, right? Being they're 4.2 fully charged, they're always quoted at their nominal voltage. So you see, if you look at a 4-cell LiPo, it says, I think it's, I can't remember what it is, but it's 12.6, I think, because it's 3 times, I don't know. But when they're fully charged, they're 16.8 volts, and you have to discharge them to 80% to get down below 16 volts. So by the time you've done that, you've used up, like 20% of your battery power just to make it usable. So my experience with those 4-cell ones, not really worth it, because I carry them around and that. So they're small, they're lightweight, but if you get a 3-cell one, fully charged, they're 12.6 volts, even though their nominal voltage is 11.1. But they take quite a while to drop down below 10 volts. And so if you're using them with QRP radios, like a KX3 or an 817, those radios run down to below 10 volts, and they seem to both run quite okay on 9.5. So 3-cell LiPos are fantastic for the QRP radios I've found, but for anything that requires a bit more current and voltage, the lithium iron phosphate is definitely the way to go. I've worked that out, the hard way by trying. I just thought I'll go and buy a 4-cell, I'll get the extra voltage, but actually 20% of the battery you can't use because of that extra voltage is too high. And with the 3 cells for your 857 and that, you've got one, Brad, you know that once the battery power gets below 11 volts, they don't work very well. So 3 cells no good for the 857. So not a great battery for a lot of radios, the LiPos, but the lithium iron phosphate, as Mark said, are great. But I've seen these lithium phosphate high voltage, which have a slightly higher voltage rating than these 3-cell standard LiPos. So they look like they might do, but I haven't used one, and I'm not going to spend any money on one until I speak to someone that's actually tried them out to see if they're any good. The lithium iron, the iron phosphate, they're a little bit dearer, and I think for the smaller power ones are not quite as light as the LiPo, but there might be just the brands I've been looking at. But that was really excellent information, David, so thank you very much for that, and you confirmed a lot about what I've discovered from buying them and trying them out, and you've probably done the same thing. And that's all I've got to add on batteries, so thanks, Brad, for letting me have a say, and I'll pass it back to you, VK2MNZ in the group, VK2HJW.
VK2HJW, VK2NMZ. Alright, so I did go through and realize I have gone through and fixed the audio feed. It looks like the broadcasting software just there was a change in the settings, possibly when I didn't have one of the sound interface for my Yaesu radio plugged in, and it's gone off and messed with it all. But we're back now. One of the plus sides of things is not only is this being broadcast live on Facebook for all the people that are out there watching this, but I am also going off and recording this, and probably later on this evening or tonight I'll also go through and upload it to the club's YouTube channel as well. So definitely some of this information here, if you didn't go through and manage to catch it or write any of it down, you will be able to go off and watch it and pause, write it down, rewind it, and everything like that on the YouTube channel. So fantastic there. I know I didn't manage to write a lot of the things down there that David was talking about, and even yourself that you were talking about with all the nominal voltages. I probably should have, but I was tied up rushing around trying to fix the feed side of things. So, oh good, looks like we've got quite a fair bit of information coming through. So let's move down. What we'll do is we'll move down there to Alan, VK2MG, VK2NMZ. Did you have any other comments on the battery side of things? And I guess one of the other general questions I guess could be is if you've come across any of those CW or Morse kits on one of the major online auction pages, have you gone off and seen them? I do know that Max, VK2XOR, he ordered something off a mini kits. It was a very tiny Morse paddle. I don't know how much it would cost, but after looking at it, I know I want to go through and buy one myself as well. So let's keep on moving. Alan, VK2MG. This is VK2NMZ, and apologies for the people on Echo Link. Alan, I know that you just left a message before, but there's no audio passing through. I'm not too sure what's going on, so that's something to look into later. Anyways, Alan, you're up. VK2MG, VK2NMZ.
VK2RAG, Summersby.
VK2NMZ, VK2MG, just got back in time. Just had to go and put some light on. Yeah, I actually went on did an audio message onto Echo Link about that, and I might do another one again shortly. Not really much more on batteries, although I'll say the 12 amp hour gel cell I've got, but works quite well for me. I've got a 9 as well, but the 12 is great if I want to put the linear on, because 100 watts, so that's going to draw about 20 amps, and you can't do that for a long time on smaller batteries. But if you do that, then I'm definitely shortening how long it's going to keep its charge. definitely I heard wonderful things about the lithium phosphate batteries, and would be interested in that. But given I just kind of forked out for a new computer, I think it's going to be a little while. The other subject, what was that? That was I've gone completely blank on what else you wanted to ask me about there, Bray. Can you remind me? VK2NMZ, VK2MG.
VK2MG, VK2NMZ. All good there, mate. All good there. Well, aside from that, it's good that you've moved over to the dark side and are sitting on a Windows PC. I'm not too sure if you feel dirty or not, but I know what the question was if you've come across or if you have any experience in the Morse CW kits that you can get off one of the major auction sites on the interwebs. And you mentioned before about antennas. I had a tragedy earlier this week where the tip of my antenna got caught in a fire sprinkler and snapped the top of it off. It was only the 23 centimeter end, so that was a bit lucky, but still a bit upsetting. Back to you.
Yeah, the last time I put together a kit in quotes was for Morse trainer was I was very, very much younger and probably only just licensed, or maybe even before I was licensed. It was hammering nails into a bit of wood and building up an oscillator and plugging a key into it. I've not really built anything CW since. I have ordered a couple of keys online. That one that you would have seen me post about using on my blog, which I got from a gentleman in Ukraine who also sent me a QSL card saying "Long live CW" when he sent it to me. But the interesting one that I got, and it cost me about I can't remember, it was $30 and a lot of shipping from the US, was this gentleman and his son who'd gone into business 3D printing these paddles. And instead of using 3D printing almost every part, except for the I think it had a bolt in the middle, and I think a couple of bolts on each paddle, and it held the paddles apart using the high density magnets. And I've just not gotten used to using a paddle yet. I'm a straight key kind of guy, and I'd really like to get a nicer one than the little one I've got. VK2NMZ, VK2MG.
VK2MG, VK2NMZ. I have gone through and I have seen that the little key that you did go through and have, and I do quite like it. It is not a bad little bit of kit that you've got there. Yeah, keys. There's so many. I know I've got I borrowed this from the club. I've got one of the paddle keys to go through and learn on. The other one, if you are interested in learning Morse, there's an app that you can get on your phone called Morse Toad. It's about $5 or $6, I think. Could be worthwhile going off and having a look at it. It uses a renowned teaching method, or you can also get the Google keyboard and have that as Morse as well. That's all good. And there was just a comment there just before by Daniel from Puerto Rico. We've got good morning from Puerto Rican Caribbean island to all present Australian Central Coast net. Tell me what the weather conditions are now in the Big Reef Barrel, Puerto Rico today in the North Coast area was 73 degrees Fahrenheit and very clear. So beautiful. Well, I'm not too sure as what it was in the Great Barrier Reef. I'm going to on the Central Coast where we are. The weather was about 25 degrees or similar. I dare say that the average temperatures throughout the year at the Great Barrier Reef sit on around anywhere between 20 and 25 degrees most days. So it's definitely wouldn't go through and wouldn't be too bad. Now, if I have a look here, the weather for Port Douglas, which is basically the Great Barrier Reef. All right, so it was a minimum of 25 and a max of 31, so okay, 31 degrees Celsius, so maybe just a little bit warmer than that. But there we go, Daniel. If you are still listening, that was the weather forecast for the Great Barrier Reef, which is about 1,500 to 2,000 kilometres away. So it's quite a bit of distance. All good, all good. Okay, so thank you very much for that, Alan. It is much appreciated. Let's move down the list there to Matt. VK2 FABR, VK2 NMZ.
VK2 NMZ, VK2 FABR. Yeah, still on the battery thing. Unfortunately, I know very little about batteries, but I'm eager to learn and enjoying listening to the conversation. And Daniel, if you are listening, I'd love to chat to you sometime over Echolink. If you'd like to do that, I'd love to know what it's like where you are and so forth, and we can swap details about the places that we live and been, etc., etc. Anyway, getting back to batteries, lipos, that's how you pronounce it. It's they seem to be like the go-to battery, but as it's been pointed, well, from what I've read anyway, but it's been pointed out that as far as amateur radio use, that there's a better option out there. So, I mean, obviously there are thousands and thousands of bits of information out there from different people, and it's hard to I don't know, pick the correct from the incorrect sometimes. And just on a completely other subject, and I apologise in advance if this is going to offend anyone, just my sense of humour, but just talking about Echolink and what's happened to Facebook, but maybe the coronavirus has become binary and jumped over to computers. Anyway, that's my sense of humour. So I'll leave it for there for the time being, because I know very little about batteries. VK2 NMZ, VK2 FABR.
VK2 FABR, VK2 NMZ. So that's all good there, Matt. I suppose another the other bits of questions that we could go through and ask is what else is new in Radio Land. I did hear off somewhere that you'll be going through and getting some coaxial installed at your QDH over the weekend, which is definitely going to go through and help things quite substantially as far as signal levels go. I know myself I went through and I mounted a discone antenna off the side of my house, which was just off an old satellite dish mount, and I frantically I mounted. This was probably at about 20 past 7 or so tonight. Is I clamped it onto the roof, lifted a tile up, chucked some coaxial cable under there, which was RG213. Then frantically climbed up into my roof space and started running through the roof and tried to drop the coaxial cable down through the holes that I had already pre-drilled a number of weeks ago. But because the coaxial cable itself wasn't quite straight, I couldn't make it through the hole, which was disappointing. So I'll need to use one of the tongue or rodders that I've got lying around to go through and get that through, and then I'll be able to have two antennas running up here. But the sense of humour side of things, I suppose you can ask, what sort of mask does a network engineer use to protect themselves from coronavirus? And the answer for that would be a subnet mask. Yeah, hi. Yeah, no, it's a very bad joke. I'll flick it back to you there just for another over there, Matt, if you did have any other comments before we move it along. VK2 FABR, VK2 NMZ.
VK2RAG, Summersby.
VK2 NMZ, VK2 FABR. Lol. Subnet mask. Very, very funny. Oh, yeah, actually laughing out loud on that one. So, subnet mask. Oh dear. Okay, yeah, very good. So if you're not into computer networking, just maybe when you've got time, just Google subnet mask. What is a subnet mask? And maybe you'll get the joke. Anyway, hopefully this weekend I'll get the antenna up and everything will be fantastic, and I'll start to be able to hear repeaters that I couldn't hear before, and obviously the transmission and reception range will be extended. And I'm very impressed so far with just where the antenna is at the moment, as far as what I'm able to receive and the quality of that reception, as well as the distance that the transmission's going just on simplex and the quality of that transmission. So just out of that such a small antenna, it's quite impressive. So maybe it's a combination of the antenna and the roof, and who knows? Who knows? It's a massive sort of rabbit hole, isn't it? Amateur radio and antennas and reception and frequencies and wavelengths and the atmosphere and how that plays a role in reception and transmissions. Anyway, I'll leave it at that for this round of my comment. VK2 NMZ, VK2 FABR.
VK2 FABR, VK2 NMZ. I thought you might go through and enjoy that bit of a laugh. I saw that on one of my pages from my work, and I went through and I had quite a bit of a laugh. I enjoyed it quite a fair bit. But yeah, I was going to say this: the whole thing with Corona is definitely getting up there and getting quite wild. For myself, like I ended up working from home today, as my employer wanted to go through and do a bit of a trial run as to see how their systems would handle over 3,000 individual VPN connections, and there was over 3,000 subsequent simultaneous VPN connections and over 1,500 virtual audio and video conferences happening all at once. So it was definitely quite a bit of a challenge, and I observed some of them, but we'll see how we go with that. But yep, that should be an interesting adventure there on the Saturday on the weekend, Matt. We'll go through and we'll chat further about that afterwards. Let's move over there to Jim. VK2 EWI, VK2 NMZ.
VK2 NMZ, VK2 EWI. Okay, Mark. I would like to make a comment on the battery situation. You can use a buck boost converter, which are available from AliExpress for about $20, to make a battery that only puts out 8 volts, put out 13.5 volts, at a limited amount of current for a limited amount of time. But there are a lot of buck boost converters out there that you can buy on a chip. So you might think about that if you're worried about batteries. Also, I think David's research into batteries bears a lot of looking at. He obviously is very involved in it. And I think batteries are very important because also I would add that DigiKey has now 2.5 farad capacitors for like $4.50 each. So in that line, you might think about that. The other thing I would like to make a point of is I think we should probably keep the net more involved with the normal way of communicating, which is keep down the opinions and keep down the ums and ahs, and please, make it a little bit more to the point. VK2MZ, VK2EWI.
VK2 EWI, VK2 NMZ. Okay, so I've written down those comments there. I suppose there's something there that we can go through and have a bit of a chat afterwards about that. I was more so looking at when you mentioned about the ums and ahs and more to the point. I suppose one of the sides of this conversation is I'm doing a simultaneous chat as I'm chatting over the radio, and it's also going out to potentially thousands of people as well. But as I said, for more involved on the side of the communicating people, I would absolutely love for more people to go through and come up on the net, which is also one of the why we went through and started talking and bringing in topics of conversation as well. For example, some of the LiPo batteries definitely did go through and turn out quite a bit of interest on there, and some fantastic little bits and pieces of news. So yeah, Jim, that's something that we can go through and have a chat afterwards. Let's go through and move over there to David. VK2 VGA, VK2 NMZ. Are you still there, mate?
VK2 NMZ, VK2 VGA. I am still here, but not for too much longer. I have some things I have to go off and do. Just a few parting words before I head off. Thanks for running the net, and it's been good hearing everybody on here and on the net again. I'm trying to get into the habit of getting into the net a little more frequently. I know I've been a bit slack on that, but yeah, school and all the rest of it. Anyway, just a few parting words. If you are looking for more information in lithium batteries in general, there's a wonderful website called Battery University, and if you type into Google Battery University types of lithium ion, they do a wonderful summary and rundown of pretty much every lithium ion variant, and they compare the specific energy, the specific power, safety, performance, lifespan, cost. They pit it all against each other. They list their common applications if it's used in power tools or laptop batteries. It's really pretty impressive, and that's been the source of a lot of my information, and I would highly recommend Battery University. Not only that specific page, but all of their other information is spot on and accurate. I've cross-referenced it to a bunch of other websites, and I can't recommend them anymore. As well as that, if you're looking at lithium iron phosphate in particular, a great person on YouTube is called Will Krause. He builds think DIY Tesla Powerwalls, but he goes into a bit of the theory and he explains BMSs really well. He's got a whole bunch of tutorials, and they're really great no matter whether you're a big beginner or advanced or just simply looking to refresh your knowledge or even want a bit of entertainment. Really great content. Anyway, back to you. VK2 NMZ, VK2.
A VK2 VGA, VK2 NMZ, and just cracking that 3-minute timeout as well, or maybe that was your radio. But for if you are interested for that, there, as David mentioned, go through onto one of the major search engines, look up Battery University, and as I have also made that link available as well for you to go through and look at this and look at that later. But that's one of the things I've actually gone through and added that into my own favorites of how lithium batteries work, to definitely go off and have a better look at that. So thank you so much for that, David. And we'll go through and I'll let you go back to your assessments, and we'll catch up with you next week. I said I'm not going to be in this Saturday as I've got a number of things going on, but take it easy there, my friend, and we'll catch you later on. Mark, let's see if you're still around. VK2 FMUS, VK2 NMZ.
VK2RAG, Summersby.
Okay, it looks like that Mark has headed off for the evening. That's completely okay. So let's drop down there to Bob, VK2 NRC, VK2 NMZ. Now, Bob, what's new in the land of satellites? And what are your and did you have any other inputs with regards to the LiPo batteries? Back to you, mate. VK2 NRC, VK2 NMZ.
VK2 MNZ and the group VK2 NRC. What's new on the satellites? There's a few new ones that are due to go up into orbit in the next few months, like amateur radio specific sort of thing. A few other interesting things going up, but we will eventually get access to the frequencies, and that even if it's just downloading things, I haven't got any details with me at the moment, but as for the LiPos on other interested bystander listening and learning, don't know a lot about them, but always happy to listen and learn, and that's so. Anyway, I'll put it back to you, VK2 MNZ, VK2 NRC.
Now VK2 NRC, VK2 NMZ, Bob, that is likewise for myself as well, is I am going through and learning quite a bit of this, and it's something that I would like to look at building at some point later on down the track as well. So this is also, I guess, another side of things is that since we're at the bottom of the list, I may as well do a small little spiel. Is if there are any other bits of topics of conversations and things that you may like to go through and talk about, or think that could go through and be quite interesting, is definitely go through and start that conversation off, and yeah, we'll be able to go off and look at that. So over these last couple of weeks, we have had quite a few good topics, and it's something that I would love to go through and continue, as it turns out to be quite engaging. And one of the things that I guess what I will do is, before I head back up to the top of the list, is just do a very small plug for tomorrow evening. Is at 7:56 p.m. is what the time is set for. There is going to be a live broadcast from the International Space Station, who will be having a conversation with the Australian Air Cadets from the South Australian Wing, and hopefully we can go through and get Echolink sorted for that. But it is something that is going to also be broadcast not only over via the local repeater, but I'll also go through and put it live through social media as well, just in case the Echolink is not working, and that's something that will go through and happen from about 7:45 p.m. or so tomorrow night. And I know for myself, that's something I'm really looking forward to being able to go off and listen to. Now, you won't actually have any interaction with the space station, so unfortunately at this point in time here, you won't have an opportunity to speak with anybody on board. It will only be listen only, but so that's completely okay, as this is definitely one of those situations and opportunities that don't really come around too often. So that's my little spiel. So let's go back up to the top of the list there to Ray. VK2HJW, VK2NMZ.
VK2MNZ and the group VK2HJW. Yep, no, I'm very happy with the information I've got about batteries tonight, and I'll definitely be having a look at that battery university. But I guess summarising, for amateur radio, it does appear, I reckon, that the lithium iron phosphate batteries, their voltages work better, but I will say that I think for QRP work, the 3-cell ones are fantastic as well, as long as your radio's fine going down to 10 volts. But the 4-cell LiPo batteries, even though it says, I'm just looking at two batteries now, one says 11.1 and one says 14.6, I think it is, I can't read that, it's 14.8, sorry. And you think, oh, that 14.8 looks perfect, but actually when it's fully charged, it's 16.8 volts, and it's got to be 20% discharged before you can use it. So that is something to be aware of. So yeah, look for the lithium iron phosphate, lithium iron phosphate, or the 3-cell lipos for QRP. I'd be interested to know how you got on with the VPN and audio conferencing. It's interesting that people are looking at that now. I wish that we'd been doing it for ages. If I have to commute like all the way into the city to work, where 80% of what I could do better at home without being interrupted, I reckon. But the boss doesn't see it that way. And that's pretty much all I've got to add. It's been great, Ned. And I can know AOR tonight. Well, he'll be around somewhere, but it's good to hear Jim and David, Mark, Bob there. So VK2NMZ, VK2HJW.
VK2HJW, VK2 NMZ. I'm glad that you were able to go through and definitely take some of the information that we did go through and talk about from here tonight, and that's definitely the side of things that we're going off and looking for. And it's good little bits and pieces of education as well is always one of the you just need to go through and look at really forever learning. And speaking of that, Ray, is I think I remember last week I just had a thought then is the MMDVM build days. If you haven't done so yet, definitely go and if you're looking at, I know you did go through and purchase a couple, but if you were looking at building one within the club itself, go through and send Tom an email, which would be projects@ccarc.org.au, and that way we can go through and get down on the list. And then once we finish that expression of interest, which we'll be closing off at the end of March, we can then go through and look at the costing and start scoping that side of things out. For the comments on my side for VPN, is today was a bit of a trial for my employer. Is they ultimately wanted to go through and see is could their systems go through and handle the load, and it was effectively if it was not essential for you to be in the office and you had the capability of being able to work home remotely, then by all means they went through and encouraged that. And I think from me is I have a number of conferences and phone calls with people from interstate, and nearly everything that I do in at my office place of work is I can go through and I can do from here, and that was definitely a test, and I might see if I can squeeze that out a little bit more and maybe do a day a week or something like that. But that's fantastic, Ray. There was some good takings from that. I'm very glad to hear that. So let's go down. We are on the third round here. So let's head down there to Alan, VK2MG, VK2NMZ.
VK2NMZ, VK2MG on the power supply now because my battery was getting down a bit, and I went and put another battery on. And it looks like my 9 amp hour battery is pretty much dead and won't hold a charge now like the other 12 amp hour. So I'm down to the one 12 amp hour battery I'll just put back on the car charger and running off a little cheap little power, what's it, a 12 amp power supply. So yeah. No, it's about working from home. Yeah, I do that too. And it's amazing what you can do with a connection these days. I use Zoom for my video conferencing, and that's fantastic. Even though it is kind of interesting talking to you guys in New Guinea on their wet bit of string network. And another chat tool which also does phone calls called Slack. But yeah, they work quite well for me. I mentioned earlier I picked up a new computer last night, and I've just been programming some radios. I've managed to download the code block you put onto the Retivus and break that up, and I've managed to brick and then unbrick my FT70D by putting the wrong firmware on it and going, I don't like that. I'm getting the right firmware, and it does, and I've got the backups working on that. Sort of got the 818 talking to Commander on this thing. The weird thing is I can't make ham radio Deluxe talk to it, so I have to do some more playing with that. Anyway, VK2NMZ, VK2MG.
VK2MG, VK2 NMZ. Well, I think you're quite good, and for myself is I'm going through and I'm working on properly setting up my own home shack, and I guess you could call it a home office. Is I finally went through and actually got myself a proper chair today for the pricey sum of $50. They're worth about 200 or so at one of the main office suppliers. And once I go through and run a bit of coax through the wall and fix the capacitors up in my third screen, I'll definitely be a lot happier. For my workplace, we go through and we use software called MyVMR, so My Virtual Meeting Room, for basically all of your audio and teleconferencing. And we also go through and make quite a fair bit of use of Skype and Microsoft Teams as well. So that's all all good there. Now there's so many different topics we can go through and talk about. So let's keep on going there, Alan, before we go through and get railroaded a little bit more. Matt, VK2 FABR, VK2 NMZ. Did you have any last words, my friend? Over to you, mate.
Yeah, VK2 NMZ, VK2 FABR. And yeah, that's very interesting what you're talking about as far as your work getting, trying to, or testing the system to see if people can work from home. When I was working for a company called Engine, EIGIN, who are a VoIP provider, or were a VoIP provider. I don't know if they are anymore. I know they were moving into also the NBN, but basically they made one particularly very, very bad business decision, and a lot of us, including myself, screamed and shouted literally to try and get them to stop doing what they were doing, because it ended up costing a lot of jobs, and I ended up leaving because, yeah, you're an employee, you know what's happening, you can't do anything about it, they won't listen. I got frustrated and I left. But anyway, yeah, people need, and I was trying to get them to get employees to be able to work from home. It was possible then, it's obviously possible now, and if we're going to survive this economic crisis, because that's basically what it is an economic crisis as well as a pandemic, then people need to be able to work from home if they can, if their job enables them to be able to work from a phone line and a computer at home. But in regards to communication, probably from me with the ums and ahs, I completely empathise that it's frustrating for probably not only that person on the net tonight, and sorry I missed your name, but also for others. There are things called disabilities in this world, and I have several. Autism, dyslexia, and ADHD being three of them. And autism affects me in the way of communication, both verbal and non-verbal. In fact, I've been non-verbal for most of the day because my brain became overwhelmed and it basically couldn't process the world around me, and as a result, my brain becoming so overloaded, I lost the ability to communicate verbally and communicate in other ways as well. So yeah, as frustrating as it is, unfortunately, there are people out there who really can't help the ums and the ahs and so forth. So yeah, I mean, as frustrating it is, I just ask that people just keep an open mind, because you never know what the other person on the other end of the radio, or the person walking down the street, or the person serving you in the shop, or whoever you may bump into in life is actually going through or experiences or has to deal with in their own personal life. And everyone has their own battles, and it's something that many of us struggle to empathise with, and to see. We're all so wrapped up in our own worlds these days. There's so much going on that we find it. Some people find it very hard to see things from other people's perspectives. But anyway, I shall leave it at that for this round. VK2 NMZ, VK2 FABR.
VK2 FABR VK2 NMZ. Thank you very much for that, Matt. That was quite very, very insightful, and that is something that you are definitely right there. A number of people do go through and said there a number of people do have their own absolute stories, and so that was something that was quite insightful and very, very heartfelt. And I guess definitely thank you for going through and dropping that one in. So there's quite a number of things there. Now, Matt, that's a bit of a shame. I think when I look back at it, I think 5 even 10 years ago, working from home was something, and remote working was something that was never heard of, and it was essentially if you weren't in the office by 9:01 a.m. in the morning, then you're late. And definitely the workplaces and work environments now have come through and become a lot more flexible. Myself, my workplace, we have an agreement where as long as I go through and arrive anywhere between 9 a.m. and 10 a.m., they're completely fine with it. And it's ultimately as long as the workload comes through and gets done, then that goes through, and they're quite happy. So Matt, once again, thank you very much for that. Once we do go through and get to the end of this round, we'll have a look and see whether we are keen on going on a fourth or not. But we'll give that a crack. All right, let's move down the list there to Jim, VK2 EWI, VK2 NMZ.
VK2 NMZ, VK2 EWI. I appreciate that, Matt. I appreciate what you just said. And after all, I found out that I can write without the shakes what you said, that we are all frustrated. My autistic friends communicate very well, and I understand that we are all a bit autistic to some degree. So I totally sympathize with you. Unfortunately, in our society, we don't recognize it as being a normal condition. I won't carry on too much with that because my sister is autistic and never has been diagnosed, unfortunately, and caused a lot of problem in our family. But I do sympathize with you, and I do understand. So, but I was only making the comment because of net protocol. And Mark, if you would like to talk about that after the net, I'd be happy to. VK2 MZ, VK2 EWI.
VK2 EWI, VK2 NMZ. That's all good there, Jim. And yeah, I think they've definitely normal net protocol that is something there that you are right. It is usually straight, effectively pick a topic and then stick to it and be relatively straight to the point. And and in some terms, it is something there that I do agree with you. But and in other instances, it's coming through and being very flexible with it can go through and encourage um, quite a substantial amount of conversation and stuff, which is one of the things which I found we just mentioned one word and then it ends up going off into a tangent, which is definitely good. So it's I suppose it's one of those. It's the net side of things is definitely evolving, but yeah, your comments are absolutely valid. And as I said, any sorts of any constructive feedback and things like that are most definitely taken on board. And so because the only obviously the things like this you cannot po body is perfect, and that sometimes at some stages you do need to go through and fall to get back up again. So that's definitely we can go through and have a chat about this and whatnot. But that's all good. Now we do have David has already left, Mark has already left. So let's go down there to Bob, and once we get down to Bob, we'll see if we want to run a fourth round or not. So Bob, VK2 NRC, VK2 NMZ.
VK2 MNZ, VK2 NRC. Yeah, I just don't know how to follow that one. I'm just happy for anybody to get on the air and talk, and as long as it's within reasonable guidelines that we've got of not commercial and try not to sort of get into how we put it the usual controversial topics and all of that can upset people. As long as it's a positive thing for as many people as possible, and that I'm quite happy to. Even topics I'm not interested in, you can still, I'll quite often listen and think, why am I listening to this? And then somebody will just come up out of the blue, and that's so. I'm sort of quite happy to listen to whatever goes on, and as long as it's not, hurting people or etc. etc. None of us are perfect, but we can keep practicing, and perhaps we'll get there one day. So we've all got to make, mistakes, and we all do. Some of us don't, but Anyway, put it back to you. VK2 MNZ, VK2 NRC.
VK2 NRC, VK2 NMZ. And definitely, I think, Bob, for you coming through and taking the time out to, you're coming from Sydney and going through and checking in here and weekly is something that's really appreciated. And in saying that, for some of the other local listeners, we do have quite a number of people coming from Sydney who go through and who drop in quite frequently to this repeater. I know, funnily enough, Matt VK2FLY, who basically lives right on Sydney Harbour, goes through and is able to go through and drop into the net as well. So you go through and keep an eye out for him as well. He's quite a quite a knowledgeable person. And I think I'd like to do, since we're at the bottom of the list, is let's see if we can either maybe come up with a suggestion tonight, possibly for a discussion topic for next week. That way, really, we'll be able to go through and come in with something we can all go off and get little bits of pieces of information. Think of it like a little bit of homework or something like that. I think that could be quite interesting. So, since we'll go through and we'll make this a very quick pass over fourth round. We'll make this a 7-3 round and we'll drop it in as suggestions for next week. VK2 HJW, Ray, VK2 NMZ.
VK2 MNZ in the group, VK2 HJW. Okay, Brad, thank you. The kit making field day for the MMD DV boards. I am interested in that, and I'll look on the website, and I might put my name down. I'll check the dates, and I haven't got the ones I ordered yet. I've ordered a hat to put onto a Raspberry Pi I was given, and a couple of others, and a homemade one, but I'm interested in learning more about it. I have played around with the Fusion of late, and I found that I don't know. I'd rather just have a radio and talk from my radio out the front. But anyway, I'll work that out. So yeah, thank you very much for running the net tonight, and hello to everyone there. It's been really good to hear everyone's comments, and it's good to talk about it. And it was good having. It's been good the last couple of weeks that I've noticed we've had topics, and it keeps everything on track because people something to talk about. But it is good to be flexible, and there's other things going on. Someone new might come in the middle of the net and want to say hello, and that's fine. I like that. I really like. I don't mind people getting off topic at all, as long as they're respectful. I try and be. But thank you, Brad, and you have a good evening, and I will be listening here for a little bit more while I'm tinkering around with some other things. A VK2MNZ in the group, a VK2HJW.
VK2RAG, Summersby.
VK2HJW, VK2NMZ. I guess a couple of comments there, Ray, is I'll actually need to check to see whether it is on the MMDVM build date is on the website or not. Now, we do actually have, well, there was an email that had gone through and been sent out, but, I've said again, I'm so sorry. If you wanted to go through and shoot me your email address, I will go through and send some of the information through to you of basically the scope of the project of what we're looking at, and generally your requirements, and then once we go through and we get the numbers, and we work out what people are wanting, whether they're wanting simplex or duplex or 2 meter or 70 centimeters, whether they would like a next-to-end screen, whether they want a case. There's a number of factors that we need to go through it and take into that, and generally majority rules. With that, myself, I'm going to be greedy, and I would like 3 MMDVM units, 2 on 2 meter and 1 on 70 centimeter. So I swap that around, 2 70 centimeter and 1 2 meter, and a next-to-end screen or 2, but that's just myself. You mentioned before on that you've managed to get Fusion working. Normally the busiest group on Fusion you can either go through and have a look at the Oz Repeater Net on Fusion, or even America Link, which is you're always going to go through and find some sort of activity. And then you could also go through and come into some of the All-Star links where you have multiple modes in one, which can get a little bit confusing at times when you have different digital modes and different sort of audio deviation. I've started to, whilst I have a Yaesu radio in the car, I also have a P25 radio, and I'm starting to get a little bit more partial to P25 purely just because of the audio quality. So thank you very much for that, Ray, and you can go through and shoot me an email, which is just vice-president@ccarc.org.au, and that will come through to my inbox, and we can go through and have a chat from there. So thank you again so much for coming along. And 7-3 there for yourself, Ray, and we'll move down there the list to Alan, VK2MG, VK2NMZ. Did you have any thoughts for a discussion topic for next week, or any final words from the land down under? VK2 Mike Golf, VK2 No More Zombies.
VK2NMZ, VK2MG. Yes, I did see you smile when you read that. I said that and was just watching the video, and I saw you look to the side. I don't initially have any thoughts about next week. Regards to that project, I think I mentioned before, I'm definitely interested in that, and if I can actually do it up so it's basically pick it up and carry it out to the car, that'd be kind of nice, or have it in the house. I mentioned earlier I did the firmware upgrade on the FT70DR. So apparently now with Fusion I can do wires. I've just got to go and have a look at how I've got to set that up. That's basically what the firmware update was. Yeah, that would be good good night from me to everybody there at 7-3, and have a wonderful weekend. I guess we'll catch you, if not next week, then before. VK2NMZ, VK2MG.
VK2MG, VK2NMZ. Well, the FT70, which is C4FM and then Y is X, it's effectively the same thing. But once you go through and get that firmware update, and you can go through and get one of those hotspots built and working, is you will come through and find it's quite flexible and quite capable, and it's very low power draw. One of the things that I would like to do would be to have it plugged permanently into a 5-volt power supply, and also go through and have a 4G hotspot permanently running off it as well. But that would also mean I would need to have separation between what I have in the house and what I have in the car as well. It's all part of the fun and all part of the exploration of it. So yeah, definitely we'll go through and we'll work out and go through and send an email, leave a comment on the Facebook page or anything like that, and we can go through and work on some sort of topic. There was actually a question that did go through and got asked, and you could leave this for any passing comments. Why are 40-channel AM/SSB radios so popular? So that would be your 11 meters. So that's probably not the best topic of conversations for amateur bands, but it is definitely a valid question, and there's quite a number of groups out there and research that you can go through and do. Is propagation mainly for the 27 megahertz bands would be starting to close up now, and at times even on the 5 watts on those radios you are able to get quite a very, very high distance from that. Okay, thank you very much for that, Alan. Let's go down and move there to Matt. VK2 FABR, VK2 NMZ.
VK2 FABR. I would like, talking about in reference to the build day, the hotspots. I'm not really sure what you're talking about there in regards to what you mentioned, but I definitely like a screen. I definitely like to be able to access both 2 meter and 70 centimeter, and I'm really not sure what else is capable of. I'd like to be able to just talk through repeaters, and also operate in a simplex mode as well. I'm not sure how much hardware that would involve, but I'd also like it to be enclosed as well a case. The case would be good. That obviously keeps dirt and dust and everything else, and protects components and so forth. I think a case is very important. And as far as the net goes, and the topics and so forth, my personal view is that yes, and obviously there are current guidelines in place, and I'm obviously very new to, for those that didn't know, very new to the club, very new to amateur radio. I've only just recently received my license after passing my foundation course and exam, which is just I'm ecstatic about. Really ecstatic about. I love this hobby, absolutely love it. It's great. I love the social aspect of it. I love the technical aspect of it. I love learning about it, all the different aspects of amateur radio and so forth. But yeah, it's a bit of flexibility in the net would be great, and I think it keeps it interesting. Yes, we could, to have a topic that's great, but if someone has no idea or doesn't understand a topic, has nothing to say, it basically just leaves them out of it, and they're unable to contribute, unable to take part, and that could, maybe leave them feeling like they don't want to take part in other nets. So maybe a bit of flexibility would boost numbers. Just an idea, just putting it out there. And, we could swap and, that doesn't mean that we can't go back and talk about the original topic and, or several topics. But, maybe a bit of flexibility would be good as long as, normal radio etiquette is followed and polite and courteous and respectful and all the rest of it, and being, generally being decent human beings, and professional on the radio as well, which is another thing that I really love about amateur radio as opposed to CD. Always get very, very frustrated at the well, let's just not start saying anything about that. But anyway, so that is it from me. I guess this is the last round. So thank you very much, Brad, for hosting it, and I've very, very much enjoyed taking part and listening and to everybody's contributions. And this is VK2 NMZ, VK2 FABR, and clear and listening.
VK2RAG, Summersby.
VK2FABR, VK2 NMZ. So definitely, Matt, there's something there that we can go through and have a chat about it. I think it might be easier for definitely a bit of a face-to-face chat, but I also do have some YouTube links which I think would probably be quite beneficial of having a bit more of a general overview of these MMDBMs and how they go through and work, and and how powerful they end up quite being for such a very small form factor unit. So it's all sorts of good there, and that's the same as myself there, Matt. I'm still going through, and I've been licensed for 3 years now, so I'm still 3.5 years. I'm still quite green in the big picture in the big scheme of things, but the amount that I have come through and learnt in these last 3 years is absolutely phenomenal. And as your comments before, and I know my comments on a number of times, is that amateur radio it really is. It's a big rabbit hole. Is the more you go through and read about it, and the more you learn, is the more incredible and complex hobby of what it is, and the things that you can go through and do with it is, and even just radio technology and learning about the radio spectrum and how different frequencies go through and work. It is completely mind-boggling, and that's really the sector of my work that I'm in. I think this is why part of the reasoning of why I've had such an interest in this. And so I definitely do go through and enjoy that, but we'll go through and we'll chat a bit more about that further on. So 7.3 there, Matt, and maybe the occasional 88. And we'll go through and move down there to the list to Jim, VK2 EWI, VK2 NMZ. Jim, did you have any last comments or any suggestions of topics that we could go through and discuss next week?
Roger, Mark. VK2 NMZ, VK2 EWI. Well, I was quite taken by Matt and the fact that probably I overreacted. But ham radio has been my life, actually. I've been a ham for, I don't know, about 63 or 4 years. Anyway, and I've been all over the world working working in electronics. So, it's given me so much of what I've done in my life and gotten me through it in philosophically reasonably good shape. By the way, autism is a bit of a misnomer. Autism is a normality that we have. We all are different. We go from one end to the other. In everything. It's not ironclad, and I don't. Anyway, I shouldn't get off on this. Maybe you should probably close the net first. I'm betraying my own principle here. Anyway, a friend of mine is waiting for me to call him back. His call is VK2 Japan Alpha Zulu. His name is Simon, and he's waiting for me to call him back on the phone. He just got back from the hospital, so we're all more or less in the same boat. We're all going to fall off the perch eventually, Mark. VK2 VK2EWI, go ahead.
VK2EWI, VK2 NMZ. Have some very good words there, Jim. And at times there's some things that I guess some of my own behaviours which I think I possibly may be on there as well. But it is, and that's one of the, you mentioned before that the amateur radio and the electronics has been what you've been doing for quite an amount of time, and that's basically my line of work is I'm doing a lot of work with satellite technologies. So they're your K-band, so that you're in the 15 to 20 gigahertz down to 2.3, 3.4 gigahertz, and then even 5 gigahertz wireless point-to-point links. It's absolutely incredible, and the more I go through and look at that from the professional side of things, is the things that you can do with radio technology is just phenomenal. It's absolutely incredible. But yeah, you are right, mate. It was 9:42, so we'll make this a 7-3 round, and then we can open the repeater up there for general use again. So so thank you very much for that, Jim, for dropping in, and we'll catch you next week. So Bob, VK2 NRC, VK2 NMZ.
VK2 MNZ in the group, VK2 NRC. Firstly, thanks for running the net tonight. It's been somewhat varied, which is good because it sort of gets a feel of our brain cells moving around and what have you. Just one thing, what you touched on earlier. I'm not sure if VK2 is BR's name, but anyway, don't be worried about not understanding anything. Everything's new, but it's sort of one of the things of the hobby is that it's so broad and diverse that you'll never ever get to do everything in the hobby, and by the time you did, there's going to be another lot just as big, if not more, waiting for you to get stuck into. So don't feel intimidated by it. Just absorb it and write down bits and pieces, and whether you look it up on the internet later or in a book or wherever your choice of information is, or speak to somebody, etc. But it's a whole new learning curve of everything, and subjects that you never thought you'd even be interested in sometimes. So don't be because you're new. It's not that we're all drawn to that. I don't know half the things you're talking about either, so don't worry about that. It's all that. But no, don't be worried about that. It's all part of learning about not only being a an amateur radio side of it, but a lot of other diverse subjects as well. Anyway, I won't rattle on much more about that, and I need to wish everybody a good week, and hopefully speak to you again next week. VK2 I'll get this right. VK2 VK2 NRC.
VK2 NRC, VK2 NMZ. No more zombies. I love that. Well, we all come from the land down under, so that's LAN for the computery geeky folks out there. So yeah, that's definitely a comment there, Bob, which I do go through and agree with. Is there's so many facets of amateur radio, and it is so incredibly diverse. And there is a number of things that I'd like to learn. For I know myself is I want to learn more about the repeater side of things. I'd like to learn Morse, and that was part of the reasons why I'm wanting a duplex hotspot, so I can build my own little mini repeater running into dummy loads here at home, so I can learn about it. But in saying that, one of the things that I do go through and have now, this is a book that I do have, which came from Max VK2 XOR, which I'm going to need to have a read of, is FM and Repeaters for the Radio Amateur. Now, this is a book that was given out, that was published by the ARRL, but I don't actually have a date on there, but it's quite an aged book. I'm trying to look through for a publication date, but I can come through and tell you it is a very, very, oh, there we go, third printing, 1976, and it costs $4 from the USA. So I have read a few pages of that, and I need to go through and read a bit more. But anyway, I digress. I'm coming through and I'm blabbering on a little bit now. So let's go through and close this net off. The time is 9:47 p.m. and at this time here, I will go through and close the Central Coast Amateur Radio Club's Thursday evening net formally. And I did wish to go through and thank everybody who did take the time to come in tonight. And it is definitely much appreciated. And there is quite a number of topics that we did go through and discuss. Now, as just a very quick cover-off is tomorrow evening, so we do have the International Space Station live stream. For those that can go through and check in, we do have the expression of interest for the MMDVM build day. We do have a lecture coming up that is going to be on the 18th of April, and that's going to be a very informative and very interesting lecture, and there will be further communications sent out about that one soon. And also a copy of this net from the start of the broadcast right the way through to the end will be made available not only on Facebook, but if you do look up the Central Coast Amateur Radio Club on YouTube, you will be able to find this video here as well. So once again, this is VK2 NMZ saying 7-3 and returning this repeater back to general use and saying good night to everybody. See you later. Bye-bye.